Good evening. Welcome to the 12-Man podcast, live on YouTube for the first time. A bit different this one. We're on Facebook, Amazon, Deezer, Spotify, all the good stuff you usually hear with. Yeah, see, teething issues. You got me, Steve Jackson, I'm your host for the evening, as usual. You got Mr. John Donovan with me. See, I was in the same main there. How are we doing, John? All right?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, fine.
Good. And guest, friend, journalist extraordinaire, Mr. Craig Jones is with us. Evening, Craig.
Evening, lads. How we doing?
We're doing good. How are you?
Yeah, fine, thanks, Greg. Cheers.
Yeah, not too bad, thanks, mate.
Good.
Thankfully, that one of last night's over and done with anyway.
Exactly. It's to be fair, I feel the same about, I suppose, the whole 4 days. To be honest, these two away games were always going to be tough. They're always going to be difficult. But they're gone now. I'll explain a little bit later why I'm delighted and glad I'm going to move on for the rest of the season. So we're going to talk about the last two games. We're going to talk about the trips to Burnley and Leeds. Don't think it gets much tougher in the Championship than that. Maybe chucking Sheffield United, that might be a bit tougher. But, back to back, really tough. And then we'll preview the game against Millwall. Bit going on with the Millwall game as well. So, on and off the pitch. So we'll have a chat about that. So before we start, though, as usual, boys, are we both all right?
Yeah, all good for me, thanks.
All good.
Yeah, likewise, all good with me, thanks, mate.
Good. Right. So we'll start with Friday, John. Burnley away. Turf Moor. It's a difficult place to go. One, because Burnley are, at this level, a very, very good side. And two, the ground's an absolute dump. And the weather on Friday was very, very cold, freezing, horrendous. Yeah, it was just a difficult night, but we navigated it kind of. And the start we made was brilliant.
Yeah. Nice catch, Jacko. It was a treacherous journey there, no doubt. Greg found it exactly the same, but we were on a coach on unlit, darkened roads, driving through torrential rain, and so it was interesting to say the least. But we made it good time. Got to Burnley for just after quarter past 7. So it wasn't. It was all right. I'm glad we made it. Unfortunately, some didn't.
Yeah, a bit of an interesting one. Obviously, the coach load that crashed. Was it just outside Skelton Lake Services? I'll say straight away, why are you going that way? A bit of an interesting way to go, considering the way Burnley is always in off the A1 and go down the A59. But I don't drive the bus. It's completely up to them. But most important thing is everybody got out of the bus safe and watched it. If you haven't seen the videos on Twitter and what have you, when we scored the first goal, the services was brilliant. It was so good. But Craig, did you go on Friday night?
Yeah, I was there, mate. Yeah, thankfully I did my journey a little bit earlier in the day, so it wasn't as torrential. The storm hadn't hit by then. So
no funny stories, no.
Afraid not. This time I avoided it all. I got in, I was nice and warm in the ground, and then all of a sudden you could just hear the rain pelting down, and it was, oh God, what are we in store for here?
It was. It was interesting to say the least. Obviously coming down, and they say we got in the ground. Obviously Burnley's very open air, without being open air inside the concourse. But game side, John, minimal changes. So we say, no McGree again, which is a bit of a. I'll speak about McGree for the Leeds game, but the start we made, there was a video that went round from a Burnley fan. I can't repeat some of the words he said. He said, look at them passing around. They can't do anything. They won't do anything. And all of a sudden, Barlas appears, an absolute peach, straight through the middle of him. He goes, oh no, I've made a mess of this one. And there's Dyke still, little dinky dink over James Trafford, 1-0. And I usually like a game of limbs. I didn't enjoy this one because half the seats were wooden, and the pain was real. But some absolute limbs in that away end when that goal went in, and it was well deserved as well, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, we started well. We competed well. We chased every ball down. We battled for it. Loose balls we seemed to be on the end of first, and we got the lead. And obviously, Borough fans were in good voice at 0-0, and sort of ecstatic 1-0. You know, it was a good finish, to be honest, for a full-back. Lovely, delightful ball from Balassa. When it hit the back of the net, so it was at the far end to where the Borough fans were, but hit the back of the net and it just sort of went crazy in that stand.
Class, wasn't it? It was I mean, one thing I always wonder about journalists, Craig, is do you have little butchers it away? And I know you have a look and see how good the limbs look. The camera views I saw, they looked pretty good, but they must have looked even better from where you were up in that stand.
Oh yeah, it always looks brilliant. You've got your own joy that Borough have scored. I feel that joy now these days, and then you see them going mad over the far side from where I was sat at Turf Moor, and it always just looks brilliant. I mean, I always admire Borough fans and their commitment to travel, no matter the circumstances, in the numbers they do, and the noise that they make everywhere they go, the support they give the team. I think they're absolutely brilliant, and in those conditions, Friday evening, so close to Christmas, to sell that out, that was a great moment that they deserved.
Yeah, it was, and like you said, it was well deserved, wasn't it? Because obviously we can see from behind the goal, the passing looks good. It wasn't kind of going places until the actual goal itself, but. How did it look from where, obviously, your vantage point? I thought, like John said, we started really, really well. And, I don't think any Burnley fan or journalist or commentator could have any grumble that Borough took the lead that night.
No, absolutely. I think they did. I think they started, aggressively and kind of, got the ball and kind of settled things down a bit, which, you often need to do and which they probably didn't do when we come on to discussing Leeds. But when you go to tough away grounds like that, you need to thingy the home crowd to quiet them down and take the sting out of the game a bit. And they did that, Borough, and as you say, the kind of times look like they're not really doing much and not really going anywhere, but I think that's all part of the patient build up. That's all part of the plan, if you like, because it'll always eventually lead to little gaps, and credit to Dan Barlaser, he spotted that gap perfectly, and a brilliant pass, and as you say, you maybe wouldn't expect Anthony Dijksteel on the end of it, but once he certainly made the most of it.
He did. It was, I never expected it. I think he kind of tricked himself up as well, which made it even better. The celebration came out. It's quite a common celebration now, keeping themselves warm. Let's say we definitely keep warm where we were. But I come on to the equaliser. John, I'll start with you. Lots of people had different views on this. People saying, cracking strike. Thing that, for me, from where I was stood, I don't know how far up or down on the way and you were. What's Dieng doing? He's 6 yards off his line. I don't get why he's so far off his line. He was definitely caught out, and for me, it's a goalkeeping error. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I think he was caught out, but to be fair, it was a great strike. Now, if the further the end goes out, obviously a normal shot, not the sort of looping lob shot. A normal shot, its angles are narrowed if the keeper's sort of more advanced, but that obviously gives whoever's striking the ball the option to get it up and over the keeper, which is what in effect happened. But there was a few around me who had the same opinion. That it was a drop off by Dieng, but so be it. But one each. Half time. Good first half overall, but yeah, disappointing to concede like that.
It was. Are you of the same opinion, Craig? Obviously, I did feel that Burnley were getting back into the game as the half did go on, which is fair enough. You know, they're the home team; they should do. I just felt the timing of it was, you know, it's a bit down, but a bit, you know, it was difficult to take for a Borough fan, especially the way the goal went in. I just didn't, you know, anything top quality, yeah, fair enough. But this was over the keeper, and I thought, you know, you must have had a different angle to what we had.
Yeah, it was the angle that we had was pretty much straight behind where he struck the ball, really. And I think what I would say is I think the conditions certainly played a part in it. I think the way it travelled in the air, I think, was definitely wind assisted. But I agree with both of you that I do feel like Dieng got his positioning wrong. I think he was too far off his line for it and allows himself to be beaten. But as you said, Jack, well, I think you know, after the Borough goal, as you would expect, Burnley kind of did come back into it, and you know, credit to Borough, they wouldn't have undeserved going in 1-0 up, because I think they defended really well and until the goal. Other than that, there was that one. Can't remember who it was. Was it Sarmiento cut in from the cut in from the right and struck it, and Dieng kind of, he hit it viciously, but it was always one really that Dieng should have saved, because otherwise he would have been beaten at his near post, but he did save it. Other than that, I don't think Burnley really created a clear-cut chance in that first half. They, you know, after the goal, they had the more of the ball, and they were certainly the team, you know, doing the most of the attacking. But Borough defended really well. I thought, you know, overall over the whole 90, I thought Dale Fry was magnificent at Burnley, and probably a big miss last night as well. But yeah, so you know, if you're from a Burnley perspective, you're probably saying we deserve that goal, we deserve to be 1-1. But you know, from our perspective, from Borough's perspective, I think you're looking and thinking in the circumstances we've defended well and conceded a bit of a freak goal, really.
Yeah,
I mean, there was that chance. Sorry, Jacko. There was that chance that they had where I don't know who it was who took the shot. It took a deflection, and sort of Dieng had to quickly sort of scoop it up and over the bar, you know, which was a great reaction save. But yeah, I don't think there was many clear-cut Burnley chances in the first half.
No, I agree with that. I think it was Brownhill that had the shot, wasn't it, in the first half that was pinged. I thought Brownhill had a brilliant game. I can see why, before he signed his new contract, I can see why Borough had a little look, a little bit of an interest in that guy, because I think he's a brilliant championship midfielder. But before I go into the second half, John, what did you make of Dieng going back in? Obviously, you were quite an advocate of Dieng coming straight back in. But on the other hand, did you not feel it was a bit harsh on Saul Brinks? I think he's had a really good couple of games, you know, deputising for Dieng.
Yeah, he did. He did do well in the games that he played. But, you know, personal opinion, I mean, you can speak to 10 Borough fans and you'll get maybe it's a 50-50 split, I don't know. My choice was to bring Dieng back in now that he was well enough and fit enough. And you know, we've just said we thought he might have been slightly out of position for Burnley's goal. But again, at Leeds, I think he justified being back in. We'll talk about that soon, you know. But yeah, it was unlucky on Sol, but for me, Dieng's our number one, and until Carrick changes his mind, and then I'm sure he'll remain in that position.
Craig, I'll get your thoughts on that one. So obviously there was a bit written about the choice to bring Dieng back in, obviously following illness. They say a lot of fans saying, you know, either way, you know, I prefer one or the other. What were you guys making up in the press box?
Yeah, I very much expected that would be the call Carrick made, to be honest. As John says, I think Dieng is still the number one, and you know, it was no slight on anything Solid done in the 3 games he played. I thought he had 3 solid games, but I think ultimately that was a very different test and a very different challenge going to Burnley, and then obviously Leeds following that as well. And I think ultimately at this stage of Bryn's career, they would have been very tough nights. He is still young, he is still quite inexperienced, and I think ultimately Borough, still wanting, and certainly before the Burnley game, still pushing for, you know, perhaps even automatic promotion. You would have said if they'd have gotten 2 good results. Well, you definitely would have said it if they got 2 good results at Burnley and Leeds. And you know, I think at that stage, Dieng is the one with the experience, and that probably just puts him a little bit ahead of Bryn at this stage for a team who are, you know, ultimately are wanting to push for promotion in this division.
Yeah, I mean, I can see both sides of the you know, the coin, I suppose. You know, I was a big fan of when Solbrun came in. I thought he did really well, because I thought the conditions at Oxford were really difficult. They say having a 3-sided ground, the wind was playing havoc that day, and he did really well. But I can see why Carrick brought DM back in. You know, wants to go for a bit of experience. You know, go for his tried and tested. You know, 2 tough games. I fully get that. So, you know, I say I'll stick with that for now until I talk about Leeds. But second half, John, Burnley, I can't really say Burnley created a great deal again, because the better chances came from ourselves. When you look at Conway's chance, where he just passed it straight to the keeper's arms, Bergzorg straight at the keeper, the ball in from Azaz that absolutely split between the defence and the goalkeeper. All he needed was a tap in. As soon as Ben Doak got one-on-one with someone on the right-hand side, he actually got at, I think it was Koleosho on their left, and caused havoc. I just felt the only team that was going to win, if there was going to be a winner, was going to be us.
Yeah. I mean, the number of chances that we failed to put away in the second half was disappointing. I mean, I'm not sure the order in which they came, but yeah, and maybe you forgot about Edmondson's header.
Oh God, yeah.
But yeah, that should have been on target. It could well have. It maybe should have been a goal. But you're right, Conway. He just sort of like it was a weak effort when he had a clear shot on goal, and it was straight at the keeper. And yes, Bergzorg, a foot either side of the keeper, and it's a goal. But unfortunately, it was straight down his midriff. They were clear opportunities missed, and I thought we were the better team second half.
Yeah, it's the same here. There wasn't a point where I was panicking that that Dieng was under pressure or the defence were massively under pressure, because to back up Craig's point, I thought Dale Fry was absolutely magnificent on Friday night. I really do. I thought he was superb. It's another difficult one where he definitely knew what the wind was like, because the ball he played, I think about 10 minutes from the end, we just needed a nice little floaty ball, and he pinged it straight into the middle of the stand behind the goal. And I thought, oh Jesus, there's that point gone. You know, we aren't going to get any further than that. But I thought he was brilliant. I couldn't fault Dale Fry. I really couldn't. Craig, was that the opinion of all the press after the game as well? Because I know obviously you have your knitting at it before the guys come and do the press conferences. You know, I suppose they'd have thought, yeah, draw was about right, but us Borough that must have thought, yeah, that was 3 points we could have grabbed there.
Yeah, absolutely. Apologies, I think I'm having a bit of a nightmare with my Wi-Fi at the minute, but I'm hoping I've sorted it. But yeah, no, I mean, after the game, there was definitely that kind of sense of, you know, mixed feelings. I think before the game, you'd have said, we'll take a draw away at Burnley. But then in the context of the game, as you say, those missed chances. I mean, you mentioned the Edmondson header, the Bergzorg chance, which I think was the bigger chance, to be honest. The way it's pulled back to him, he's got the goal at his mercy. And then there's the Latte-Laugh one as well, where Azaz kind of strays the ball over the top, and it doesn't look like a chance as such, because he's not really had a shot at goal. But I mean, you know, a better touch to knock it past Trafford, and he's got an open goal essentially. So yeah, I think definitely there was that mixed feeling of like, actually, we probably, you know, we could and probably should have won that game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I agree. Yeah, I'd forgot about that. Yeah, I mean, Stafford, he got a bit lucky there. You know, he just does what a keeper does, spreads himself, but he managed to get something on the ball, which sort of stopped the momentum of Latte-Laugh. And yeah, just if he'd have been clear through, like you say, he just rolls it into the empty net. But yeah, 1-1. Spoke to everybody at the beginning of the match, at half time, at full time. And everybody said the same. Yeah, we'd have took a point, but You know, most people said we deserved more from our second half performance, especially. So, yeah, we're in agreement.
Yeah, I mean, I'll fully admit, I sat on the back of that bus for about an hour on the way back, thinking, "How the hell have we not won that game?" I was absolutely bemused by it. We were just a better team by a mile. And I thought they're supposed to be one of the favourites to go up, and yeah, I was a bit peeved. I wasn't happy. I won't lie. I was a bit annoyed by the dropping of 2 points because I felt like it was 2 points drop. But hey ho, we move on. Before I quickly move on, John, who was your man of the match for Friday night?
Dale Fry. Yeah, I mean, Craig's already highlighted how well he done that night in difficult conditions and against decent forward line. But he handled it well, and he's sort of he's come back really well after such a long absence.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I don't think you disagreed either, did you, Craig?
No, yeah, Dale Fry got mine as well. I think there was that moment in the second half when Hannibal's running through, and he keeps up with him and then puts in that sliding tackle. Oh, that was brilliant. That was epitomised this evening for me. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it was if you took the wind away and obviously the muddy and slippy conditions, it was just Dale Fry's perfect conditions for me. He loves that get stuck in and have a go at strikers. It's this type of game, and I think he thrived big time from that. But so yeah, we move on from that. That was a point gained. I still think 2 drop, but yeah, a point more on the board. When we go into last night, imagine John as well. I don't imagine. I know a lot of optimism going to, because following what we did to them in August, Leeds before last night have only conceded 5 goals at home since what we did to them. They've become very ruthless at home. They've realised winning your home games is key to getting out of this division automatically. They've failed brilliantly in the playoffs for everyone to see. I feel like we're our own worst enemy showing people like that. But still, the feeling was we could still go there and get something.
Yeah, that was the general opinion on the coach as we were going down. A lot of people were fairly confident if we're at our best, we'll trouble Leeds. And Latif has he's got an Indian sign over them, hasn't he? They don't like him. He does well normally, but saying that, last night he got scant service. Really, it was very poor. But yeah, you're right about their home form, including last night's win. They've took 28 points out of 33 at home. That's the bedrock of a promotion push, isn't it?
Exactly. 9 wins out of 11, 6 goals conceded, 28 scored. It's ominous for the rest of the league, to be quite honest. And the changes he did make, Craig. Obviously, he brought in McGree, he brought in Latif. Obviously, brought Clark back in for Dale Fry. I thought Dale Fry was a massive miss last night, but I still felt, because of the strength of our squad, that was still good enough to get something from that game. But, as we'll talk about, the key battle was obviously going to be the midfield tussle between Hackney and Barlasser and Tanaka and I can't remember who they got, Rothwell. You know what I mean? So that was the key battle, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. The game was ultimately won and lost in the midfield, wasn't it? I think it was, it was a game ultimately that was marred from Borough's mistakes throughout, and that started, I think it was the 4th minute when Dan Barlasser gave the ball away cheaply, and Dan James thankfully dragged that one wide. But it started there, and the sloppiness in possession continued throughout. Borough just couldn't really get a foothold, but Leeds at times, particularly in that first half, just felt like they were sliding through Borough like a hot knife through butter. And that's one of my biggest concerns about Dan Barlasser. I think he's had, a pretty decent spell in the side. and we mentioned his great ball for Dijkstale's goal at Burnley. But I think in games like that, where Borough don't control the possession as much, and the opposition go at Borough with a bit of pace and a bit of tempo, which Leeds had. I mean, Leeds were quite frighteningly good in attack. As you see, it's quite ominous for the rest of the division. But Borough made it very easy for them. I will also say that last night. But yeah, I think that's Dan Barlaser really struggles in games like that. He looks a very tidy player in games where Borough are naturally dominant, and he can get on the ball and dictate a tempo a bit and just play the ball around. Sure, he's got excellent passing range and technical ability on the ball, but you're put under a bit of pressure, or teams playing with a bit of tempo and speed, he really struggles, and he's so easily bypassed. And I think, that was the case last night. And, you mentioned that, and you start looking through the Borough team. I mean, you'd argue, Edmondson's having a fantastic season. Clark's at the back end of last season was probably Borough's best player. But I'd argue, as you say, I agree with you. I think Fry was a massive miss last night. And if Rav's fit, surely he has to start. So I think if everyone's fit, is Rav and Dale Fry probably your starting centre backs. So, you go to probably the toughest away ground in the league with your two central defenders on your starting defenders. One of your key midfielders in Aidan Morris is missing. That's the spine of your team, which is badly affected there. So to kind of try and put a positive slant on what wasn't a very good evening, that's it says a lot that Borough actually on another night could have quite easily come away with something.
Yeah, they could have. There was points where I thought, we are well in this game. Obviously, when we equalised, I thought we could kick on here. But John, the bit that surprised me, we mentioned it earlier, we started very aggressive at Burnley. We got on the press really quickly, pushed them from the front. I felt last night, obviously you had a different angle from where I was, obviously. I just felt we stood off them. We let them get control really quickly. And that's what really determined the game and determined the flow. It must have been frustrating being there and not seeing us push as well as we usually do. Because as soon as we did in the second half, we got mistakes out of them. We got a bit of pressure on them. But to give them the control so quickly, that was the most disappointing part for me.
Well, yeah, to be fair, Leeds are the most aggressive team I've seen this season so far. They worked like hell. They were snapping at us at every opportunity. They closed us down. We just didn't have any time. And unfortunately, we didn't deal with that very well because we lost possession far too easily, and we misplaced lots of passes, which is criminal, really, against a team like Leeds. You can't do that. You can't do it anyway in the Championship, but especially a very strong attacking team like Leeds, you just can't do it. They've got a fantastic midfield and forward line, and you've got to keep possession. You've got to try and quieten the fans at Ellen Road down, because it's a noisy place to go. There was two sets of good supporters there last night, and you need to try and quieten them down, but they seem to be winning every second ball. They were closing us down and nicking the ball off us, and then we were giving the ball away in silly positions. It was poor from the start, and I was thankful when the half-time whistle went in. It was only 1-0. It could have been worse, and we just never got to grips with Leeds. I'm not saying we didn't have the desire, but we just looked we looked soft compared to them. They were really strong at us.
Yeah, I mean, there's games, unfortunately, where you can tell how good a team is and how much better they are than you. And I did feel at times last night that, and lots of people will disagree with this and think, no, they weren't better. Sorry, but they were. They were. The Leeds were very good last night. Yes, we helped them a lot, but the bits they needed to be good in, they were just very, very good. But I'll stay with you, John. The first goal, really showed the frustration we all have with DN. He showed his very best and then his very worst at the very same time. It was a great save, and then to flick. I don't even know why he went to flick his leg at it. I know it's unlucky it's hitting onto and gone in. Jump on it. Just jump on the ball, because any contact him, he gets a free kick. But he just flung his leg at it as I'm just watching the goal back again. Go on, I'll let you go.
Yeah, I don't think he could have jumped on it, because he was on the seat of his pants and he was sort of leaning back, because the initial shot took a slight deflection, didn't it? And he fell back. He kept it out, and so his initial thought was just to sort of kick the ball away from the goalmouth area. Unfortunately, he kicked it onto Gnonto. But Dan James gave Neto Borges a difficult night, and it was disappointing to lose sort of that goal, because Leeds had so much attacking play, and that was a scruffy, sloppy goal, and it was disappointing to go 1-0 behind to that type of goal. I just think if Borough had maybe been as nasty and as tenacious as they were at Burnley last night, it could have easily been a different outcome.
It could have been. You're absolutely right. I mean, to go in only 1 down at half time, I thought we were very fortunate, like you said, because as soon as the second half started, we did exactly what we didn't do in the first half. We got straight in the faces in the second half. We caused the mistakes. We caused the problems. And Craig, the equaliser, came from a great ball in, which is very rare for a Borough, because we were always hitting that front man. But it obviously caused the own goal from Max Wolber. But Borgia was there to flick it in regardless anyway. But at that moment, going at 1-1, it was thoroughly deserved, because I thought the pressure we were piling on them, it's like we found a little kink in their armour. We found something there.
Yeah, it just felt like a bit of a different intensity coming out for the second half, didn't it? I think, as you say, I think that word aggressive keeps being used, and I think that's the key, because it did feel very passive in the first half. Middlesbrough just sat back, and it was so easy for Leeds to just play straight through the middle of them. So many gaps, so easy to exploit. In the second half, it just felt like they were that bit more aggressive, that bit more advanced up the pitch in where they were trying to win the ball back, and it made a difference. And as you say, the equaliser that they got was absolutely deserved. And then, I guess the most frustrating thing of the evening is that then after the equaliser, they were, for a little period, they were on top, and they had that great chance when they opened them up and it went across to Doak. And I think that's brilliant goalkeeping by Meslier in the moment. I think he gets out so quickly there. It's not one that I particularly blame Doak for, or feel like he should do necessarily so much better. I think it's just brilliant goalkeeping. And at that point, we talked about quiet in the crowd and things like that. Like, you could sense, obviously the press box is in the middle of the home crowd, and you could sense that there was frustration building. And then all of a sudden, Borough give the ball away, gift a chance. It was the first one that Dan James missed just before he scored. DM makes a good save to that one. But it just lifted everyone in the ground. Leeds fans sensed it. The players sensed it, and Borough players sensed it as well. I think it created a new anxiety within the Borough players that hadn't existed from the start of the second half. That played with this kind of newfound tempo or aggression, if you like, and it just, that one kind of error for me, it completely turned the game.
Yeah, it did. And I think the most frustrating thing about it, John, was I think it epitomised Ryan McGree's evening when he lost the ball. I just felt he wasn't at his best last night, Riley. I felt he was a bit behind the pace at times. He looks a bit frustrated. He seemed to want to drift in a lot at the time as well. I just felt that Sam Byram did a very good job on him. As a very experienced player, very experienced Championship player. And as soon as you give the ball away and the pass went to Dan James, especially so soon after the first chance, he was never ever going to miss it. and well, you mentioned before we came on here how good the goal actually was.
Yeah, fantastic strike. Yeah, yeah, you're right about McGree. He had a poor game by his normal standards, and he offered Borges no cover, no help at all. Saying that, I mean, he could have won as a penalty in the first half. I still think if that's if that's a Borough defender tackling one of their front two, the referee gives it. But we didn't get it. But like you say, we got back into the game, but then we continued to do what we used to do at the start of the season. I thought we'd maybe tightened up a bit, but just sloppy balls, not particularly under too much pressure, but passing was poor. To give the ball away so often, right through the game from start to finish, and it's crucial points like that, that, like you say, led to their second goal. Great finish by Dan James, but disappointing from a Borough fan's point of view.
Yeah, I'd just jump in there and say I agree with what John's saying there, and I think a player of McGree's quality, you would definitely expect him to bring that ball under control and protect it better. But it was, encapsulated the Borough performance and the Borough sloppiness was the pass into him from Hayden Hackney. If you're Riley McGree, you're not thanking Hayden Hackney for that pass into you at all. And it kind of summed up for me the difference between the two sides, because a lot of that, like that pass from Hackney to McGree will go down as a completed pass, but it wasn't a good pass, and it put McGree under pressure and forced the error. And there was a lot of that for Borough where they just couldn't quite get the passing game going, even if it was a completed pass. It wasn't the right pace, or it wasn't in the right position, and so they could never build anything from it and couldn't quite get that flow going. Whereas everything was from Leeds was so crisp and so exactly where it needed to be, so it just flowed so much better. And that Middlesbrough just didn't have that. And if I'm McGree, I'm not thanking Hackney for that pass at all.
Sure.
Yeah. Like you said, it just epitomised the whole evening for me. The passing from the midfield too was just nowhere near the standards we expect, or Michael Carrick expects either. It just wasn't anywhere near good enough. It was just so frustrating to watch, and that's the frustration of being a football fan, especially in them situations, because you can do absolutely nothing about it. And the quality of Leeds showed through because they just punished every moment of weakness that we had. And I can't even criticise the third, because we had a goal, we tried to get the ball back, they just sit on the counter with every bit of pace that they had. Players like Brandon Aronson, he's in international, get me words out. He plays for the United States. Dan James, full-blown Welsh international. I know that doesn't really shout much, but them type of players are not championship players, to be quite respectful. They're on the cusp of Premier League, and you can just tell the way they played last night. They oozed confidence, they got the space, they got the time. And when you do that against them type of players, it just really, you're punished. You're punished really badly, and we were. And, as much as I thought we could have really got something from last night, when you see the scoreline, I can't grumble. I can't. And that's the most frustrating part. I mean, someone please tell me I'm wrong, but I just thought 31 was quite fair.
Leeds were a good team, but we gave them a helping hand, and you can't do that. You can't. Like I said earlier, if we'd have applied ourselves as we did at Burnley, the game could have had so much a different outcome. I felt a little bit sorry for Latte Lath, because time after time he was making really clever runs and moves, but the ball just never came to him. It must have been so frustrating for him, and he never gave up though. He kept on going. He never dropped his head. But I was just praying that at 1-1, the time that we were on top and the Borough fans were the only fans singing in the ground, just get one ball through to Latte Lath, let us take the lead, and we'd go on from there. But that wasn't to be.
No, I say that's another frustrating thing, isn't it? You know, when you get the moments, you have to grab it, especially in situations and games like that. You've got to grab that moment, and we didn't. And you could tell his frustration as well. There was a bit, I think, a couple of minutes towards the end in stoppage time where he was in front of goal, but I think he still had 3 or 4 people in front of him, and he just proceeded to start taking them on. Didn't really get his shot away. I think the shot got deflected in the end, but that's not the type of thing he does. You know, he doesn't try and take players on, but he just thought, sod it, I'm going for it. I'm not getting much joy out of the rest of them. I'm going to have a go now. And that just, let's say, epitomises his frustration with the whole evening for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was just one of them nights, wasn't it? We just got to move on really quick. You know,
well, I mean, sorry, Steve, but as much as us as fans are disappointed with the result and the performance, you've got to think, you know, that Leeds are a very strong team. We just have to sort of try and, as much as we can, get over this performance. I'm sure Leeds fans will have been screaming at their team when they lost 1-0 to Blackburn. You know, it's a championship, you know, and I know consistency does get you up the table, and we haven't shown a level of that just yet. But it's December, middle of December. There's still 20 odd games, 25, 26 games to play. You know, I read social media, people are saying we've got no chance of top 2. Well, you can't write us off at the moment. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, there's teams went up. We've lost 7 games so far this season. There's teams went up losing far more games, gone up automatically losing far more games. Sheffield United lost 11 when they went up in 22-23. Fulham were champions at 21-22. They lost 10, and Leicester lost 11 last year. So, you know, I think what Borough need to concentrate on now is to try and get some level of consistency and make the Riverside a fortress if we can, because we've still got all them top teams to come here. So never give up. That's all I say.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think one of the positives you can take away from moving on from last night is, you know, we've been to places like Leeds, Burnley, West Brom, Sunderland, Norwich. You know, we've been to these places now. Watford, put them in there. You know, they're the tricky places to go, and I feel like the majority of them, no disrespect to any other ground, you know, after New Year we have got some tough trips, but the bigger teams, you know, we've only got Sheffield United to take on away from home. Everybody else has got to come to us now. You know, Burnley come to us in between Christmas and New Year. Leeds come to us a bit later on next year. You know, we still have them games to come, and if we can turn our home form round, because let's face it, we've not been brilliant at home this season. You know, we've been very shady. If we sort that, we can be right contenders. We can be right in the mix, and I'm sure, Craig, that's the positives you as journalists try and pour out to us fans to give us a bit of a glimmer of hope, instead of just, right, you've got no chance, that's why you won't get top 2 this year kind of thing.
Yeah, nobody would want to read that, would they? It would page views plummet quite quickly if that was the case. But yeah, I mean, I must admit, I look at it, and you know, now top 2 is looking increasingly difficult. And you know, John's right in everything he says in terms of you've just got to keep going, you've got to keep believing and not give up, because you know, you never know what can happen. The Championship is absolutely bonkers. So who knows? But yeah, I look at how good Leeds were last night. That's 10 points now. So realistically, if Borough were perfect between now and the end of the season, you still need Leeds to lose another 4 games. And, you know, looking at that from Leeds last night, are they going to lose another 4 games? But Burnley, you know, they had quality players to pick up more than enough results. Sheffield United, I didn't think that much of them, if I'm being totally honest, when they came to the Riverside. But they just keep getting results. They seem to have a good defence. Obviously, Borough only did score the 1 against them, and it was tough to break them down. But yeah, they keep getting results, and that's what you need to do. And it's what, you know, when we look at the gap that is now there, I think before tonight's games, it's 8 the second, isn't it? 8 points. you know, that's not there because Middlesbrough only drew at Burnley or got beat at Leeds. That's there because they dropped silly points early on in the season that they shouldn't have dropped. You know, the loss at Derby, those kind of results are the ones that defeated Bristol City when they should have won and they didn't. They're the ones that are the reason Middlesbrough do have such a task now to get top two. But what's encouraging for me is that pre-Burnley and Leeds, Middlesbrough started to win those games that they should win. You know, the Hull, Oxford, Luton, QPR. Middlesbrough, we weren't only winning those games, we were winning them really, really well. Obviously, a lot of goals in those 4 games. There was the Blackburn blip, but obviously missing a couple of really key players in that one. So I think as long as they can quickly put Burnley and Leeds behind them, if you look at the run now of like the next, I think it's 10 games up to the end of January, start of February. There's 3 tough games in there with Burnley, West Brom, and Sunderland, but it's all 3 are at the Riverside. Beyond that, the other 7 are all games where realistically, if Middlesbrough do want to have a chance of challenging still this season, they're 7 games that they've got to win ultimately. Like they should win. And so it's a good chance on paper to really put a good run of results together, get points on board, have confidence flowing. For as you say, when then the likes of Leeds come to the Riverside later on, you're full of confidence and you believe you can beat them there, and you know straight away there you're then taking 3 points off a rival. So I think that's the task now over these next 10 games is just getting that confidence going, scoring as many goals, winning as many games, and you know really cementing the place at the very least as a top 6 team. Because based on everything I've watched in the Championship this season, I don't think there's many better teams than Borough, and I think there should definitely be a playoff team at the very least this season.
I can't disagree with any of that. I really can't. We've got to use the next 10 games. You know, you always work it as blocks of 10. You know, we've ended it with this block of 10. We've got another block of 10 to come. Like you said there, we've got some winnable games. You know, that's the best way to describe them, winnable. You know, no game's easy in this league, but some games are winnable. And we've got some winnable ones. So that's what we've got to look forward to. We've got a very busy Christmas to come. Let's say we'll talk about all the Christmas fixtures coming a bit, you know, next week. But before I move on to Millwall, Craig, I'll start with you. You man of the match for last night. I know it was quite difficult, but
yeah. So I'll give a special shout out to George Edmondson because at 1-1, I was starting to think about my ratings, and I was thinking he was probably going to get an 8 because I thought he was immense last night, putting his body on the line a lot, and but then he gives the ball away for the 3rd goal, and I feel I have to demote him a little bit for that. So because of that, ultimately, I think it kind of pushed Seny Dieng to the top. It's like he made a lot of good saves, and you know the comeback that Borough almost mounted in the second half would have ultimately been thanks to a lot of really good saves that Seny Dieng made in the game. I know we've already discussed the first goal. I agree with John. I think he's really unlucky there. I think the way he's fallen after kind of needing to readjust to make the save after the deflection leaves it kind of difficult for him to then be able to get back up and quickly jump on the ball with a couple is rushing in. It doesn't look pretty, I admit, but I think he's really unlucky in that moment, particularly you know in the pace of the game. You know, it's easy probably in hindsight to look at a replay and say, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Yeah. But in the moment, you know, a snap decision, and I think he was really unlucky. But as I say, some really, really good saves on the night, so he just about edged it as Borough's best for me.
John, come at you.
Yeah, George Edmondson. I understand what Craig was saying about his involvement in the 3rd goal, but I just thought he was superb. I mean, I don't know whether there's any business to be done in January with him, or whether Ipswich see him as part of their future, as they're looking increasingly likely to come back down into the Championship. But he's been a great loan signing. So yeah, I thought he was my man of the match last night.
Well, George Edmondson, I know Craig was about to jump in there, but I'll say it. He's actually a freebie in the summer.
All right, okay.
He is a freebie, so it could be a possibility that Borough put something in front of him to say, end of this season you'll sign full, not full time because he's not part time at the moment. You know what I mean? It's
permanent.
That's the word, permanent. Full time, part time. There you go. Part time football. Can you imagine? But yeah, something to say. You're a permanent Borough player now. I think something will be put in front of him because, by the looks of him, what he's saying as well, and the way he goes around the pitch, I think he enjoys being a Borough player. He loves, being a Borough player as well. Is that something you've heard so far, Craig? Is it something that Borough might be interested in when it comes towards next month?
Next month, I don't think so. I don't think they've got any real need to do anything on that front next month. And of course, we still don't know where they'll be next season. I think if they won promotion, they'd probably have to kind of set the stall higher. With all respect to George Edmondson, obviously he's here because Ipswich won promotion and they didn't feel he was quite good enough for that level. If they weren't to go up, I think you're looking at a situation where Rav probably leaves, unfortunately, if they don't go up. And Lenihan will possibly be going as well, depending on what happens with him between now and the end of the season. Matt Clark, they've got an extension. He's technically out of contract at the end of this season, but they have an option of a year extension. But with that in mind, do they potentially think about selling him in the summer as well? Activate the extension and then sell. All sorts of factors like that, where I think if George Edmondson continues playing like he is, and Borough do remain in the Championship, it seems a no to me. As you see, I think he had a couple of tricky years at Ipswich where, from speaking to their reporters at the time when he signed, he didn't particularly do anything wrong. He'd just get in the team, have a little run of games, and then pick up an injury and go out of the team. And he just never could get a really kind of long run of games like he's had at Borough in the Ipswich team. And he was just unfortunate that when McKenna came in, two lads kind of cemented the place and he struggled, as I say, to ever really get back in. So I think the fact that he's here and playing regularly could be a massive factor for him to potentially come. But as I say, I mean, to me, you don't need to do anything in January because, as you see, he's out of contract at the end of the season. So no need to kind of rush that decision. I mean, thinking back to last season, a bit earlier than now, but if you'd have asked, I think it was November, wasn't it, when they beat Leicester and Sam Greenwood popped that free kick in. Most fans who you asked at the time, there was that option to buy him from Leeds, and most fans at that time were saying it's a no-brainer, sign him up. Obviously 5-6 months later, he completely went off the boil, and it was the other way around. So I think, hopefully that doesn't happen with George Edmondson, but I think it just kind of highlights why there's no need to make a decision in January. Just be patient and see what happens over the course of the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, with Sam Greenwood, there's going off the boil and there's the gas completely cutting out. You know what I mean? It was absolutely. I've never seen someone fall off a cliff so quick. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from. The club know what they're doing. I fully trust where they are and what they're doing. We've proved it in the last 18 months to 2 years. So got no anything to worry about in that aspect. Before I move on from Leeds, and we'll talk about Millwall. Obviously, a few things did come out from last night's game. A few things were said to someone who's been a guest on our podcast a lot. And some of the abuse he does get is unnecessary, unjust. He's his own character. If you don't like him, you don't like him. He's a very love-hate kind of guy, but some of the stuff that was being reportedly said last night, wasn't great. So, I know Yusuf listens quite a lot to us boys. So, he's got the full backing of the club and all the fans around him as well. I just hope some of the stuff I was reading was untrue, and please, some of the Leeds fans that were taking part in that didn't take part in that. So, he's got our full backing. He always has, and he always will. So, just had to get that out there. So. Millwall. Before the Millwall game, John, you'll be braving the cold again, I believe, with the Supporters Trust, another food bank collections taking place.
Yep, with Middlesbrough Supporters Forum. That's right. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, a full bank collection. Obviously, one just before Christmas. Any time of the year is important, but obviously Christmas is a special time for families, and we're hoping that we can get a good response to the full bank collection, and it'll be 12 till 3. The full bank van outside of the North Stand turnstiles, where it's always placed. So yeah, if you would like to come along, you can make a monetary donation via text. I think we'll have a sum up card reader. So if you want to make a donation with your card, you can do, or just drop some money into the collection buckets. Or of course, bring bags of food, which so many people do. It's unbelievable the amount of people who drive up early, unload the cars with all the stuff they're donating, and then go and park to come to the match and enjoy the pre-match entertainment, and then go and watch the match itself. So I thank everybody who takes the time to do that. It's such a needy cause, and I'm happy to do it. You know, it's fantastic. We could also give a mention to the event that the Red Faction are holding. Yes. They're doing a charity night in aid of mental health charities. So that's great. I hope Borough fans support both causes equally.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, I fully back everything that the Red Faction do as well, mental health wise. I think they're a massive advocate for that as well, the stuff they do. With the age of the football club as well. They've had messages in the ground before. They put leaflets and stuff out before as well. And fair play to them. I'll back anything they do. So, yeah, good luck to them on that night. And hopefully a lot of people bring out some food for you lot as well to donate to people struggling. And this, especially at this time of year as well, with Christmas so close. So, like I said, it shouldn't happen in the 21st century, but we're still here. We're still doing it. So, yeah, if you can donate, please do. So, but Millwall game, John, took a bit of an interesting turn in the last 24 hours because it's Neil Harris's last game. So, a bit on it for them as well. Obviously, on top of what was already in there, but it puts a bit more on for Millwall because they won't want to go out. That's easy enough for me to say on a losing step for their legend, because he still is a club legend for Millwall, isn't he, Neil Harris?
Yeah, yes, yeah. He's loved at Millwall, isn't he, as a player, as a manager. It was a surprise when the news came out yesterday, and like you say, I think the number of Borough fans are, what about the, it's a case of some fans have thought, oh God, resign ourselves to defeat because he'll come, he'll get his swan song, he'll get his send off, and it'll be on the back of a defeat for Borough. But it doesn't have to be like that. I hope he does get a great send off from all fans, Middlesbrough and Millwall. Yes, it was a shock, but it was apparently a mutual decision. So fair play if he's walked away when he feels the time is right. Good, because he's done a lot for Millwall, and I hope all fans show him their appreciation.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, he when he came out and said, obviously the news, he did say, "I'm coming back originally, but when I know the time's right, I'll walk away." And he's happily said, this is it for him, which is fair play to him for doing that. Some people love the clubs as much as they do. It's hard to walk away, but he's found the time to do it. While we're on the subject of managers, Craig, obviously a lot of chat's been going around about obviously Premier League managers, especially West Ham, and the talk of them getting rid of Julian Lopetegui. Is that how he says his name, Lopetegui? We'll go with that. That sounds reasonable. And a lot of
attempt.
Yeah, I think I'll get that. Their fans, a few of them, have whispered they want Michael Carrick in charge. Carrick's very low key, as we all know. He's just very, I'm not bothered, kind of thing. He hasn't really made any whisper. There's nothing coming out of the club that's a bit worrying that they're worried about losing him?
No, quite the opposite. I mean, not in relation to West Ham, but yeah, he was kind of tentatively linked with the Leicester job, wasn't he? When they sacked Cooper, and the word coming out then was, absolutely not. It's not happening. It's not a thing. He's not interested. Obviously, there's a bit of a difference if that West Ham one did happen, because he has history with that club. He started his career at that club. Would that be a pull? I honestly, I don't know, but I think he's shown a lot of commitment to Borough. He let's be real about it. He could have kind of tried to court interest in the summer. He would have had 12 months left on his Borough contract at that point, and he could have maybe tried to push his name out there. I mean, regardless of what we sometimes think about decisions he makes, or his adamance on a particular style of play, in the modern game, that's attractive. You look at Vincent Kompany. I know he got Burnley promoted, but then, they went down with a bit of a whimper, really, in the Premier League, didn't there? And from my perspective, you look at that and you think, well, they were so adamant on playing a certain way that that's what I say, went down with a whimper, really. There was no real attempt to kind of change it. It was just a one-track minded, this is how we play. And to me, that isn't necessarily attractive when you're losing every week. But Vincent Kompany gets the Bayern Munich job off the back of that. So the way of the modern game at the moment is seen as attractive, and so you can understand why, to many people looking at Michael Carrick and the way his Middlesbrough team do play, he will be an attractive proposition. But yeah, as things stand, I think he is very calm, stable character, and I think he values what he's got at Borough, because it's a very calm and stable club. He's got a good relationship with Steve Gibson. He's got a good relationship with Kieran Scott, and they are building something. I think there's genuine belief and positivity in what they are building and how they're going about that. So yeah, I mean, in terms of I know his family is still based in Manchester, and it's not a short journey to Teesside to Manchester when he does go back to see his family, but it's certainly a better one than London to Manchester. So that could play in Middlesbrough's favour as well. I won't pretend to know how he would feel if that did come up and it was offered to him, but. I'd like to think that despite West Ham being a Premier League club and there being obvious links there, I'd like to think that he wouldn't be an easy decision for him to make. I think he's definitely enjoying his time here.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, you said there, I wouldn't like to guess what he's thinking. I don't think he knows what he's thinking some of the time. He's just so cool, calm, and collected. I'll always go back to the question I asked him, what's it like playing against players like Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets, possibly the greatest midfield trio that's ever lived. And to look me dead in the eye and go, it was all right. Says it all for me. I was just like, well, wow. Like,
it's for someone who achieved all he did. Obviously, I was a boy of Man United fan, so I kind of grew up watching him and marveled at him as a player at that time. He's so modest. He hates talking about himself and his own career. I can't remember who it was recently. We were talking to one Borough player, and that came up. About him kind of discussing his playing career. It had been mentioned that every now and then he'll kind of say like, this is what happened when I was a player, or he'll use his experience as a player to explain something or why he wants something to happen. But even when he does that, he hates doing it. Like the whoever it was, I can't remember now off the top of my head who it was we were talking to about that. But they said you can just see he's almost cringing inside at the fact that you think that he won everything there is to win as a player. He was absolutely brilliant midfielder. He's so modest. He hates talking about himself.
I think it was Luke.
The Borough fans last night reminded the Leeds fans, because they were giving Carrick a bit of grief. So we sang back to them, Michael Carrick, he's won more than you. And that's sort of like shut them up for a little while.
Yeah, being a boy of Man United fan, I heard that and I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, I think it was Luke Ayling, because I think someone asked Ayling, does he speak about football a lot? And I think he said he's only really proper. He mentions it every now and then, but he's only properly spoke about it once. You'd never even think he was a footballer, the way he just goes about. So he's more focused about being a coach than anything else, which for me is brilliant because, you know, you have some footballers that turn to managers. One that really sticks out for me is Paolo Di Canio, who absolutely loves talking about himself, loves talking about what he did or didn't do in football. You know, Sunderland fans will love this if they listen to this. You know what he did up there. You know, my team, my players, my fans, my this, my that. Michael Carrick is complete opposite. He's just, yeah, I'm a football coach. I tell lads what to do on a football pitch. And that is literally him. That is literally what he says and he does. And he doesn't brag about it. He's just like, yeah, I did that. But that was in the past. You know, he's happily said, I don't want to talk about football. I don't want to play football anymore. I hate playing football now. I'm a football coach. And I love that.
By the way, though, did you see recently when he played in the Man United Legends game against Celtic? And he played that down then. He talked about the standard and saying it wasn't much of a standard. I watched the highlights of that game. It was like he'd never skipped a beat. He looked exactly the same as what he did when he was in his pomp.
Yeah, there is a few players that do say, you know, he doesn't like talking about it, but when you get a little glimpse at him, you get a little look at him, he does something a bit magic with the football, and you think, well, he's still got it. You know, there's still something there. You know, he's not exactly an old guy, is he? You know, I think he's just turned 40. Is that right? He's just turned 40. He's not far off that. So, you know, he's not the oldest guy in the world. And he's still fit as a fiddle. So, I imagine he winds will get up big time about what he's won and what he's done. In Hallwood Gate's famous for scoring an own goal and getting sent off on his Real Madrid debut. So, but I digress. Millwall, John. You know, yes, there's a lot of talk about, you know, Neil Harris, this, that, and the other. We've got to go into this and say, right, that block of 10's done. It's time to start this block, and we really have to start this as right. We're going to improve our home form because we've got a lot of home games coming. You know, 3 of our next 4 are at home. You know, that is something to build on, and that's what, like we said about Leeds, epitomises a promotion team. You get your home form right, and everything else will follow with it.
Yeah, we've got to get more points at home. 17 points out of 30 this season at home. It's that's disappointing, really, for what we want to achieve. So yeah, we've got the opportunity starting Saturday to improve our home points tally. But it's not going to be easy. You know, Millwall thereabouts. I think if they win their games in hand over us, I think they go either level or just above us on points. So you know, they've had a decent season. So yeah, it's going to be a tough game, but we've got to we've got to just get back to winning ways. But now I hope we've got rid of all our silly mistakes for the next few games in that Leeds performance. So just concentrate on keeping the ball and not giving a helping hand to the opposition like we have so many times this season.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, we just hope that our chunk of mistakes are all gone now. We can just move on and kind of breeze through a couple of games, you know, nice and quietly. But, you know, in terms of changes, Craig, you know, there's a couple of players that stood out. I thought maybe they could come back in. Luke Ayling is one. Johnny Howson's another. I say a lot of people were a bit disgruntled by how much the game did bypass Dan Barlaser last night. Has anything been said with regards to how close Aidan Morris is yet? I know he's obviously, you know, it's a few weeks still, but has anything been mentioned by the club about how Aidan's getting on?
So the last update was, I think, would it have been pre-Burnley or pre the game before that, where he was basically obviously back in the country and back doing light training, but Carrick said he was still a couple of weeks away, but it sounded to me like it'll be after Christmas at the earliest. It might even be kind of early New Year before we're seeing him again. But it was encouraging to hear, because I think the early kind of concerns when USA put their update out were that you could have been looking at, you know, potentially months with that kind of injury. So, you know, they allowed him the time to kind of stay in America for a few extra weeks and be around his family for a bit, which obviously he hasn't had the chance to do, and he's come back, and by the sounds of being able to, do running at least. Pretty much straight away. I think that was something that Carrick was talking about, the kind of injury it was. The running's fine, but it's the more contact side of it. It's the, twisting the leg to play a sideways pass and that contact with the ball, or then obviously in the tackle, that's when he's going to get pain. So I think it'll just be a case of kind of rebuilding the strength around that. So hopefully it won't be too long, but I would expect probably, not the next 2 games at least.
Yeah, and John, would you make a couple of changes for Saturday? Is there a couple of players you think maybe put them back into the team, or introduce them into the team? What kind of feelings have you got about what we could start against Millwall?
Yeah, I think Luke Ayling. Might return, and possibly Dale Fry. I think it was an illness that kept him out against Leeds. So I'm hoping that he's shaken that bug and he puts in a performance, if he does play like he did against Burnley. Further up the pitch, I think we could see Tommy Conway start. McGree, I don't know. I don't know whether or not because we're at home, Bergzorg might be replacing McGree. So I don't know. A few interesting choices for Michael Carrick.
Yeah, there is a few interesting choices. A few, but it's good to have these headaches. Especially the quality of squad we've got. You think who do you bring in, who do you not bring in? But yeah, there's I'd look at Ayling. I'd look at Bergzorg. I thought he had a really good impact off the bench on last night. I thought he was direct. Yes, he's actually drifting a lot. I get that, but he was direct. He did cause them a couple of issues down that side. Maybe take Barlas out. Put Howson in, because midfield again is going to be key. Midfield against Millwall is always a massive battle. They're very physical. They're very in your face. If we get that wrong, we're in trouble. We're in big trouble. Mm-hmm. So it's a difficult game. One to look forward to. Want to start the run into the festive period, I suppose, before the long trip to Plymouth next weekend, which I'm very much looking forward to. But I'll start with you, John Don. Matt's prediction for Millwall.
3-1 Middlesbrough. Tommy Conway, goal scorer.
There you go. Nice and simple. 3-1 Conway. Craig, come to you.
I'll go 3-0 Middlesbrough. Hackney, first goal scorer.
Wow. Hackney. Fair enough. I'm going 3-1, just like you, John Don, and I'm going Ben Doak to get a goal. I think Doak's due a goal. So I don't know who their left back is, but he could be in for a long afternoon. So yeah, fingers crossed. We get something. Get into the Christmas period on the win. There's a lot of games coming, and you want to get in there with a bit of good form. So fingers crossed. But just like that, everything's done. My voice is just about held up and hung on in there. John, thank you very much for your time. I'd say I'll see you Saturday, but I'm missing Saturday, so I'll see you on Monday.
Right, no problem.
Yeah, I will be watching from afar, but free booze is my reason. So there. So yes, 3 points in a good drink on Saturday would be good. Craig, thank you very much for joining and popping on. Always a pleasure to have you on, my friend. We'll have you on again in January to have a chat about the wheelings and dealings of Kieran Scott.
Yeah, sounds good. Always a pleasure, lads.
Always good, my man. And to you people listening and watching, thank you very much for liking, subscribing, commenting, getting in touch with us. Lots of people in the midst of diving on me because Dijksteel scored, jumped on me and said, I love your podcast, by the way, which is always good to hear. I'd rather untangle my leg from a seat while you're saying that. But we move away from that. But yes, thank you so much for everybody who listens. Without you, we'd just be a bit stupid talking to a camera. but a bit like we are usually. But we've got people watching us do it. So yes, we'll talk again on Monday. Hopefully with 3 points under our belt, and we'll let you know about another competition we've got going as well. And I'll let you know on Monday. So arrivederci. Hope the Borough be seeing you.